is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now. This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now. This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now. This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now. This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now. This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now.
What is up, 24/7 Buff Fandemonium? It's Tuesday night. We just had a draft. We just picked up some free agents. It's the K-Gun Report right here, live with your boy Swank. We got the Reed twins. We got a couple special guests. We can't wait to get into all that news. And you know what? We're just going to hit this intro, and then we'll be right back for it, And here we are. And here it is. 24/7, the K-Gun Report. Tuesday night, it's 8 p.m. And we're here with the full 24/7 BF crew. We got Mr. Scott Reed right over here next to me. What's up, Scotter?
What's up, everyone? Welcome. This is going to be a fun post-draft free agency show and our first reaction to what the Bills brought in. These young men's lives changed forever, and we can't wait to talk about it and see what they bring to the Buffalo Bills. I'm representing from FLX Mafia. I know Swank and Jarrod are too. Booyah. Guys, I can't wait to talk about it. Let's get going.
I can't either. Hey, that kid that looks just like you is right underneath you. I know we got kind of a weird screen going on right now, 5 cameras, but there's just so much good here. Jarrod, what's up, buddy? What's going on?
We drafted the tight end first round.
We did.
What? I'm still in shock, but man, that shock is a good shock. Welcome, Bills fans, Bills Mafia, FLX Mafia, everyone Scott mentioned. Can't wait to talk Bills football post-draft with everybody. Let's go.
Yeah, it's more of like a 110 shock and not like a 220 shock, right? Like it won't kill you. It'll just wake you up. You know what I mean?
It'll wake you up.
Yeah. We got 2 very special guests, 2 of our best friends in the biz right here, right below me. You saw him last week at the draft show, our resident expert, Mr. Rob Mullen. What's up, Rob?
Hey, everybody.
We're super glad to have you
Welcome
back, man.
Swank.
Oh, thank you
I'm
so
sure
much, man.
everybody's glad to have you back.
Hey, I'm glad to be back, I'm glad to be back. Don't forget that you can check out a ton of great information at 24/7 buffphantomonium.com/blogs, and you can see a lot of really great write-ups from Mr. Rob Mullen. He's really been digging deep. If you go all the way south on your screen to the very bottom, you have the sexiest voice in Buffalo Bills content creation, the smoothest train rolling, Mr. RT Ryan Thomas himself. What's up, Ryan?
You said it, Swank, not me. Thank you for that marvelous introduction. Of course, boys, it's good to be back on with you. I'm joining you from not the typical studio tonight, but hey, I'm happy to be here. Happy to be joining Rob. Happy to get the chance to chat with Rob before he went, quote unquote, live. And I'm really excited for this show. Really excited for this football season as we inch closer and closer to it here.
Ooh, it gets that way, man. This time of year, the draft, all those bugs start crawling, them Buffalo Bills bugs. Speaking of all them Buffalo Bills bugs, we got family in the comments right now. Mr. Patrick Hughes, what's up, Mafia? We got John Johns. We got Robert Montgomery. What is up? I think he's a new guy, so he's just checking it out. Thanks for hanging out, man. We got
What's up, Robert?
Joshua Williams. Let's go, Buffalo. Oh, he's excited for Ford. We're going to get into that, too. We got Uncle James. What's up, Uncle James? Chris Christians. Paul Rossi. A lot of OGs in the comments tonight. Josh Cook. What's up, Cookie?
What's up, guys?
Brent Thomas. Get the cracking. What's
up,
up, brother
everybody?
Brent? We got the lucky horseshoe herself, Lonnie Cook, who has won almost a full squad's worth of signed jerseys from 24/7 in the last year and a half. Congratulations, Lonnie. We got Mario. Oh, we got Robbie from Let's Talk 716 Sports. He said,
What's up,
hey,
guys?
Ryan,
What's up?
Jarrod, Scott, Swank, and Rob. Go Bills. He caught everybody in that.
Bills.
Good for
There you
that.
go.
We got Doug. Man, you guys are killing it tonight.
Alan Ludolph. That's a new one. Let's fucking go, Mafia, he said. Pardon my language.
Gotta watch the language. Gotta watch that language. It's too early. It's not past 9 o'clock yet. We are not in overtime. We apologize for that for the children that are listening.
The children that are listening?
Mhm.
Okay.
I raised this up because I know Lonnie's in the audience, and this is a Steve Tasker 8x10 that we're going to do a giveaway show next week.
That's nice.
Very
Sweet.
nice. Very
Tune
nice.
in next week.
There you
We'll
go.
get to more of that later.
Yeah, tell them where you got that thing, man.
I got this from put Steve Tasker in the Hall of Fame Twitter. He's been, going after the Hall of Fame committee and the Hall of Fame itself for not having this guy in there yet is a shame. He's been doing lots of giveaways. He
He'll
even
get it.
has koozies that he likes to give away too. And they're Hall of Fame 89s. And he gave me a couple of them. I actually won the Steve Tasker from him, and I asked permission to give it away. And he said, do it up. It's yours. You can do whatever you want. So I was like, what better way to give it away? And then on the K-Gun Report. So we're decided we're going to do it next week's show. If you attend next week's show and leave a comment during the live stream next week, you'll be up for Steve Tasker 8x10 autograph.
Yeah.
It's not a COA, it's a personal autograph. So 8x10, 2 koozies, and all our stickers. All of them.
Nice.
All of them. Dude.
Damar, Big Boot, Babyface Bass.
And an upside down 24/7 logo. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Dope. Man, we got quite the viewership here tonight. Thanks for everybody new and old coming to hang out. You'll find that we are a fan first perspective. We try to stay pretty positive here. We try to get to every single one of your comments and questions, hit all the good news and the bad news. Patrick Hughes had a question, or more of a statement, I guess. He said he's glad Ryan Thomas didn't get lost this week. He got lost last week for the draft. Or did you just use the MySpace instead?
I didn't get lost. I couldn't get on. It was like I tried to click the link. I couldn't get on. It was rough. So, but I'm on here, and
Hey.
Patrick Hughes knows that I bring the heat.
That's right. That's right. Oh man, we got Debbie and we got a bunch of people. They're getting into the questions. Listen, keep your draft questions coming. We're gonna hit some quick housekeeping here, a little bit of news. We signed a couple free agents just within the last 2 days. The first one being Mr. Latavius Murray. Getting some depth in that running back room. I want to go around the panel here. Scott, I'm going to start with you, buddy. What do you think about this Latavius Murray signing? Is it depth? Does he have a shot to make this 53? What's going on?
He bounced around a little bit. Vikings, Saints, Ravens, Saints, and then the Broncos. And I want to say they brought him in to compete with someone else we were very excited for, Damian Harris. I don't think both of those guys are going to make the roster, but this guy had a legit season, 160 attempts last year, 700 yards, 5 touchdowns, 26 catches. He still got it. It. So he's a legit bring in by Bean. And Bean said he didn't have a lot of money, so it'll be interesting to see how much he's going for. But I think it's a great pick. I think it's an awesome pick. Definitely inside the tackle type of running back. And if you watch a lot of his highlights, guys, a lot of the shotgun RPO, and he's successful at that.
Right.
So it should be interesting.
Yeah.
Nice. I was wondering, gas in the tank just to fill out the practice squad, a little Duke Johnson replacement. Mr. Rob Mullen, what do you got to say about Mr. Murray?
Well, it's to your comment right there. I've got the answer for that because it's conditioning. What he received in Denver, the training program and regimen he went through was substantially different than what he had in Baltimore. And that was a vast improvement being 13 years into the league. It's all about conditioning, getting yourself ready for game day and being able to make it through a long season, being 17 games. And like to Scott's point, I mean, he was extremely productive and a very similar system to what we have in terms of zone blocking. And I think he's got a legit shot to make the roster in addition to Harris, not really kind of a replacement. Training camp's going to iron all that out. But it's a very legit addition. And I'll tell you that happened during the draft, by the way. It wasn't just on Monday. The actual deal happened on Saturday afternoon, and Bean kind of alluded to this. He basically made him a promise that if he signed, he wasn't going to draft a running back in the later rounds. So that made it concrete and solidified the signing there.
I like it, man. I like that we're getting some of these big-bodied guys in here to maybe push some guys around and take a little bit of heat off of Mr. Josh Allen. I think that's what everybody wants, right? He doesn't have to put it on his shoulders. RT, you got anything to weigh in on this?
Definitely. You kind of took the words right out of my mouth at the end there, Swank, with what this offseason kind of tells us that, they really want to take some pressure off of Josh Allen. They want Josh Allen to also take some pressure off of himself and utilize the guys that are around him. So they're giving him more guys to utilize so that he doesn't have to take the unnecessary punishment that he has these last couple of years. And, you look at Dalton Kincaid, obviously we'll talk about him. That's a move. Osiris Torrance, that's a move that helps Allen. A lot of these moves that they've made all throughout this offseason are all catered towards helping the greatest asset. And fortunately for the Buffalo Bills, the greatest asset they have is at the game's most important position, the quarterback position. So I'm really curious to see, the emphasis that they put on this run game. I'm happy about it. You guys know it was almost like I was a broken record every single week talking about how they didn't really establish, or they weren't really willing to establish much of a run game with Devin Singletary and James Cook until, week 10, the last couple of years. We started to see that when the weather got a little colder here in Western New York. But I truly believe that this is a move that will create competition, and may the best man win.
Competition's the best part of this league. I mean, it keeps everybody fresh. It keeps everybody on their toes. Jarrod, you got anything else to add to this Murray discussion?
Yeah, two things really. He had a down year 2 years ago with 11 carries, but leading up there, he had 140, 141, 21, 60, all averaging about 4.3 yards a carry. He's very consistent. And coming from Denver over to Buffalo, the air is a little better down here quality, so he's going to be coming from a place where he built up those lungs with a high altitude. It's coming down to Buffalo, so he's going to be nice and primed and ready.
I like it. I like it.
The air is going to be thick down here.
Thick. Got some thick air. Thick. Just like that.
Digestible air.
That thick blue cheese air we got down here in Buffalo. Yeah, I mean, I think it's good, man. I think you can definitely feel a theme coming out of this offseason into this draft, and then making these two moves. The way Rob alluded to the fact that he was probably signed earlier, that's why they didn't go after running back later. I love all that. I think this next free agent signing that came through today, I actually like a whole lot better. A whole lot better, I think. It gets me going. We picked up Mr. Poona Ford from the Seattle Seahawks, big defensive tackle, had a great season last year. 1 year deal, a monster in the middle.
Yeah.
Jarrod, what do you got to say about Poona, my buddy?
Because it happened today in work and stuff, I really haven't been able to look much into him, but I know
All right, never mind.
Needed to approach that defensive tackle, defensive line. So they're doing it. And from all the rave I've heard from you guys talking in our messenger and stuff, how excited you are, I'm sure he'll be a huge asset here on this defensive line.
A little long-winded for someone that didn't have anything to say.
I know, man. He seems to do that. He can
have to
talk
get
a lot.
my shots in when I can. I know my company, and I have to talk as much as I can sometimes.
He can talk about nothing for a really long time. It's awesome. That's all right, Jarrod. I'm sorry to throw you. I know you work hard. He's got a little army of kids over there, and he's working hard every day. So I'm sorry, I'm not trying to bust on you, but maybe we can educate you here. Let's see. Why don't you? Who do you want to educate you on Poona? Do you want to throw it to your brother, Rob, Ryan? You pick.
Let's go, Ryan. Ryan, what's up with him? Let me know.
What's happening, Jarrod? So as far as this move here, guys, we've been hearing it actually these last few days. Chris Brown and Steve Tasker, Hall of Famer in my book as well, they were talking about how the Buffalo Bills, they don't have a future plan necessarily at the defensive tackle position. All of the defensive tackles prior to Ford signing were not or are not under contract next season. So they needed to not only add depth for this year, but potentially somebody that hopefully produces this year so that they're able to keep them, moving forward. And they need bodies at that spot. And Brandon Beane was actually kind of kicking himself for not being able to get a defensive tackle in this year's draft, saying that the board just didn't fall quite that way. And sometimes it doesn't. And every GM in the NFL and every fan should know what that means. There were guys that they rated higher than that position, than players at that position that they felt like they needed to draft based on their value and where they were ranked on their board. And they weren't able to take that defensive tackle. But to get this guy in the free agency portion of this season at where we're at right now, it's May 2nd. Of course, that's a big get for the Bills and what they need with this defense. And I think Sean McDermott has already kind of alluded to the fact that I think this defense is going to be much more physical than it was in the last couple of years. And go back, watch the Carolina Panthers the year that they had that Super Bowl defense. They were a very physical bunch. Not that the Bills defense hasn't, but you guys know what I mean by that. A little bit more action on the defensive line than what we've seen these last couple of years.
Absolutely. And man, I love that take about McDermott making this more physical. I think he's going to take this D over, and you're going to see a lot of similarities to that Panthers team that made him the head coach that he is now, to give him that position. Rob, what do you got to say about Mr. Ford?
Well, I want to add on to both of your points there regarding the physicality, because that's what this guy was like, fighting in a phone booth, trying to get through. He's only 5'11", but he's a stout 310 pounds and has amazing quickness. He didn't quite have the year that he would hope for in 2022 statistically, but he was off the charts in 2021. There wasn't any health issues to it. I think it was a lot of it was the rotation. He played 56% of the snaps in Seattle. So without question, he's a great fit here, because that would be a high mark here. Very few players on that defensive line had that a percentage of rotation. In fact, there were only 2 that were over 50% for the year. So he's used to grinding, and that's the kind of guy that we needed in the trenches, as Dr. Bruce alluded to during the press conference, which kind of led to Bean's question. His answers to this very specific question was, what are your long-term plans, seeing that in next year we don't have anybody in the interior signed long-term? And so there's a good possibility some of those trades that we acquired might be used in the next draft to sort of look longer term. But think of it this way: it was only a 1-year deal with Ford, and this is really Ed's prove-it year. This is his contract year. We need to see it. We need to see something out of him. And to Scott's point, iron sharpens iron. And I think we're going to find out in training camp where we really sit. And this guy's going to light a fire under a lot of them, get them going. So we're going to get the best of everybody's effort this year on the interior, which is going to help everybody, keeping our linebackers clean to make plays, and, statistically be better in the trenches, because that's where we were losing, is on the lines of scrimmage the last 2 years. We needed more solidity inside, and this guy brings it. And his tape is really special. So if you get a chance to watch any of his highlights, you're going to be impressed.
Nice. To your point about the D-line play, Patrick Hughes, he put a comment out here. Derek Swank should be happy with the draft. We didn't take a D lineman with our first pick. Absolutely. I've been singing that from the mountaintops. I think that, the Bills have invested so much at the position over the last 4 or 5 years. Not only draft picks, high draft picks, but also Von Miller, and trying to bring in some of these vets to try to help that line. I think right now it's the time where you got to show me what you got with what you got. And I think part of Frazier's exit, or his little vacation that he's taking, is the chance for McDermott to step in and be like, okay, let's see what I can do with these pieces solely. What can I do? Because I think McDermott and Frazier's relationship was a respectful one. But as we saw in that game, what was it, 2 seasons ago, the Bills were getting stomped. They went in at halftime. They came out. McDermott called the rest of the plays. And if they didn't win, they damn near won, because he completely changed the whole defensive strategy and had them competitive in the game. And that's just where his mind is. So I'm very glad for this pickup. I'm glad that it fell the way it did. I'm glad that we didn't take a big D-line high draft pick. But I think Ford is an enormous asset to this line. And it might put into question people's positions, such as Tim Settle. You might even, with Boogie Basham in there, start talking about AJ Epinesa being a possibility for trade bait.
There you go.
I don't know. It's interesting now, and they didn't have to spend the whole bank on it. It's just a really solid piece. Scott, I know you're chomping at the bit, man. 4 people, that's a long time to wait. I'm proud of you. Go ahead. What do you got?
You tell I was getting a little antsy.
Yeah, you started.
McDermott's calling the defense this year, guys. He's calling the defense, and I know Bean was trying like hell to give him a defensive lineman to help out the situation going into next year. We're not talking about undrafted rookie free agents this year, guys, but I do want you to keep an eye on DJ Dale out of Alabama. He's a guy that on the practice squad that might make a difference in this defensive line going into the next year. But Poona Ford came from Seattle, guys. He played in a 3-4 defensive scheme, and he wasn't the nose tackle. He was a defensive tackle. So that tells me that McDermott and Bean and the Buffalo Bills just grabbed a defensive lineman that can play both the Tech 1 and the Tech 3 position. So he, in a sense, McDermott got 2 defensive linemen with this pickup. And I think I think his motor is going to motivate that defensive line. Jordan Phillips doesn't need any help, and this is going to help. Tim Settle does not need any help. Oliver with that motor does not need any help, but this guy is going to amp him up even more, and it's going to be an exciting interior defensive line to watch this year.
I love it, man. I love it. It finally feels to me, if Von Miller comes in healthy and they can kind of pick up where they left off before he went out, this is going to be a special D line, and it needs to be. What's up, Rob?
Can I add in one point?
Sure.
Kind of playing off what Scott said, which I'm 100% in agreement with. I actually think what Poon is going to do with what Jones did for Oliver last year is eat up that double team. You want to free up Ed, you want to get him in that backfield, you got to single him up somehow. And Poon is going to command pretty much. When we were saying in the draft and we were closing down to the pick, we were talking about Mozzie. Do we not have sort of a comparison here, Ford and Mozzie, in terms of what they bring? So I think we won. Getting Kincaid and Ford, we won. It's a win-win.
Mm-hmm.
We got John Stanley saying front seven definitely needs some help. Couldn't stop the run the second half of last year. I agree, man. I think this is going to be a new look with the same pieces, if that makes sense, or similar pieces at least. We got Paul Rossi saying if he can turn the 6s into higher picks, squandered some opportunities this year for those. Oh, he's talking about there was some talk from Patrick about how good Baller was getting into the later rounds and then levying that into more draft picks for next year. I think right now with the pick that we'd get for Tremaine, we'd be at 10 picks for next year's
10
draft.
picks.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
yep.
Yeah, huge, man. Getting pieces that will help you this year, give you a little bit of depth and competition, but stockpile up to buy the farm next year if you want. Hell yeah,
Yep.
I'm all about it. He's a genius.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
We got 10 next year. I don't know if you heard WGR. I heard it this afternoon coming home. Did you know the San Diego Chargers have never moved up or back or traded a draft pick?
No.
Ever?
So that's what they were saying on WGR, that they just sit there. They just sit there and they just take their picks. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, this was the first time in 13 years that the Steelers have moved back in the draft. They usually either move up or just stay.
Yeah, and they did well.
And they just say it's because they're not trying. And I was like, hell yeah, that's what it means. If they're not moving up or moving back or trading picks, they're not trying hard enough, in my opinion.
Well, so is that – I think it's more like a sign that they're not with the times.
Right.
Well,
that too. Yes.
If you're looking
possibly.
Yeah.
But I think some teams reached in this to a point where talent was falling. And look at Pittsburgh. Look what fell to them.
Yeah.
This was a shallow draft. Yeah. Right. Yeah, Rob, I agree with you. And in terms of Pittsburgh, I mean, they have one of the bigger scouting departments in the NFL. They're an institution as far as the way they draft, and they're drafting with 30, 40 people in a boardroom. So over the off season. Yeah. So it's a different situation with every team. That just goes to show you. I think that goes to show you ownership differences too. That as we have seen the NFL get bigger and bigger, we've started to understand like how these franchises are actually ran. And we know the Pagulas pretty well. Obviously, following and covering this team, Terry Pagula's leaving no stone unturned, and he's just handing the keys over to Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott. But he's involved. He's in the room. He wants to be involved. And I'm happy that their process has led to the success that they had prior to the draft, I think, in free agency, during the draft, and now with moving forward even after the draft, as well as Latavius Murray.
I love the way that Terry and Kim manage and own this team. I think it's that arm's distance thing. They're visible. They're involved to the point where you see their face. I don't know how much Terry's in Breen's ear. I really think he's just like you're saying, here's the keys, drive it. You are the GM. You are the coach. Don't make me look bad. Do your thing, win games. And they have. It's a perfect thing.
Kim might
Well,
be more involved than him.
Yeah.
I have a tidbit on that. I have a good buddy. You guys are aware of him probably. Tyler Dunn. He has his own website, podcast, all that stuff.
Yep.
And he has Jim Manos on as his co-host. And the year that they were trying to draft a quarterback was originally 2017. Like Terry, his idea was, okay, I'm going to buy this team. We're going to take a quarterback the first chance we get. With a decent class, so we can have more options to look at. And each one of them did mock drafts. And Terry Pagula, every mock draft would purposely find a way for the Bills to take Pat Mahomes. He wanted Pat Mahomes really bad.
Yeah.
So Terry Pagula is far more dialed in than what most people think. And I think that process is pretty interesting. Seeing that war room, we all love that, where we get to see. Terry Pagula say, "You guys moving up for Dalton Kincaid?" And Brandon Beane's like, "You're damn right I am." And then he picks up the phone, calls Kincaid, and tells him you're a Buffalo Bill. If that doesn't fire you up, I don't know what will.
It's exciting.
Yeah, it's awesome. Absolutely awesome. All right, guys, we're going to get into our draft reactions here. Before I do that, big national thing happened today for our sponsor. 26 shirts. I'm all screwed up with the five cameras here. Wrong way, Scott. Yep. Kyle Brandt, Good Morning Football, gave 26 shirts a shout out after changing the Twitter handle for the Buffalo Bills, or the bio. It was awesome. A little Roadhouse nod. And I mean, Kyle Brandt, he's entertaining, he's goofy, but he's good for it, man. That dude eats steroids for breakfast, I think, and just amps himself up through the whole day. It's very cool, very, very cool. And I don't know, it's nice to be a part of that. Also part of the Buff fan base network, and we're super grateful for that. RTT as well down south. And yeah, want to give a nod to them, and go to 26 shirts and buy everything. They got a really cool Dalton Kincaid shirt right now.
Is that their official motto? Just buy everything?
That's what I say. Every time I play a show, I say that too.
We should. I told you, Swank,
Well,
when I saw that, it was surreal. I mean, the K-Gun report still doesn't feel like. Still, I'm excited, but we're presented by 26 shirts. I'm still numb to it. It's awesome. It's an honor to be affiliated with them.
I could tell because you did that thing like that my wife does when she sees a spider. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's awesome, and congratulations. And like I said on the draft show, they just surpassed the $1.75 million donation mark. So they're kicking butt and taking names.
It's dope.
Yep.
It's all going to a good place, good community. One Buffalo, 26 shirts represents that. That's for sure.
So, yep, exactly.
Hell yeah. All right, kids. So I don't know if you heard. I don't know if you were there. I'm sure most of you are there for the 5-hour marathon that my boy Scott took over hosting our draft show for this year. Did a hell of a job. Jarrod was involved. Rob was involved. We had Justice. We had Robin. RTT tried to, but the Jeep failed him. It's all good. We got next year like crazy. Hopefully I'll have my new house built. We'll be running 40-yard dashes with beers in our hands, grilling out.
30-yard dash.
30-yard dash? All right.
Yeah, you can do the 40.
Our first pick in the 2023 draft came as a surprise to some, others not so much. I believe best player available at the time, moved up a spot to go get him. Two spots to go get him.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Choked out the Dallas Cowboys, took their guy. I love it so much. Ladies and gentlemen, Dalton Kincaid is a Buffalo Bill.
Scott called it.
He did.
Scott called it 2 picks ahead.
He sure did. I automatically watched tape on this guy as soon as he got picked, and oh my God, you can't get wrapped up in some of these comparables, but I sure do. I sure do see a little bit of it. Scott, I know you're dying, and you're dying to do it, and you called it like Babe Ruth. You called the shot, man. So let's hear it. What do you got to say about our boy Dalton Kincaid?
So this is, if you would have saw my reaction when the live show was over with, wow. I mean, to have him fall, I had him top 15 pick. So when I saw he was available with a bunch of picks remaining, I said, guys, wouldn't it be amazing if the Bills got Dalton Kincaid? Oh my gosh. Do you guys understand what this does for Josh Allen? Do you understand what it does for Ken Dorsey in this 12 personnel that he tried to establish last year, but could not put the pieces together to get what he wanted? This guy is 6'4", 250 pounds almost, very fluid running. He's got a basketball background, but he's only been in football since 2017, so he's still moldable and very young. He does everything you need as a slot receiver, and he does everything you need as a tight end. He's just this is an amazing pickup. He's very fluid, and I was excited, and he's excited. What I see out of this, and guys, when I say 12 personnel, for those of you who don't know what that means, and you ever hear it on other podcasts, basically the two numbers represent running back and tight end. So the first number, 10, 1 is a one running back, 12 is one running back, and the second number is a tight end. So 0, 11 personnel for 11, and 12 personnel. That all represents a tight end. So when you hear 12 personnel, it's one running back and two tight ends. I see the Bills doing that a lot. I see them getting away with a lot of mismatches this year because of this matchup. DK squared, I'm calling it. DK squared. Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox, they're going to wreak havoc. They may not have 50 catches per, but they'll have 80 catches combined for a whole bunch of yards and a bunch of touchdowns and a lot of frustrating defenses. This is a great pickup. Like I said, I expected a lot more. And when this guy fell to us, wow, this is an amazing pickup, and I'm excited for it.
Possibly the best pass catcher in the whole draft, right? I mean,
he is.
Looking at him and the way he plays, God, I just kept watching that one highlight of him going up and catching that touchdown fully extended in triple coverage and then coming down on his shoulder. And I'm like, this dude is who they say he is. Like, it's insane. Rob, give me your take on Dalton.
He was our guy. And you listen to some of the takes, you'll probably see an embedded here soon. The discussion in the room was basically Kincaid is falling. He's about to fall to us. We probably should make the move. And they were on the phone with Jacksonville trying to make it happen to jump ahead of Dallas. Because pretty much everybody had Dallas pegged at taking a tight end. And without question, Kincaid is the guy. What's amazing when I looked into his background a bit is he was a walk-on his first year at University of San Diego.
Wow.
And he didn't really play his first year at Utah when he transferred. I think he played one game. But the last 2 years, 2021 and 2022, he jumped from over 400 to, 890 yards this past year, led in all of the NCAA, and with 70 receptions, 890 yards, and 8 touchdowns. He's very impressive. There's quite a skill set to him. To be honest with you, if you're taking a tight end number 1 overall, this is a clear sign that this is probably going to be our offense. You're looking at possibly not utilizing the slot as much as we thought we would with Khalil. Realistically, this opens our offense for many different reasons. As Scott was describing the 12 personnel. Now imagine having Cook in the backfield, single back. You've got Gabe on one side and Diggs on the other, and then these 2 tight ends go in motion. Then the defense sees Cook go in motion. Tell me how many timeouts you're going to see with that type of personnel in motion.
At least 3.5.
Audibleize against. So no, he's sorry for rambling on, but
No, you're great.
I can't tell you how much I believe that this is really the answer to our offense, as opposed to another wide receiver 1.
I love it.
Gabe had so many yards, so how much more productive can a wide receiver 1 be to this offense than opening up the offense just in position pre-snap? So yeah, I'm on board. Great pick.
Absolutely. We got a question from our boy Paul Rossi. He says, can Dorsey use the 12 personnel when both tight ends are average at best blockers? I know that was a knock on Dalton Kincaid. Who was the other tight end? Meyer?
Michael Mayer.
Michael Mayer.
He was the one that everybody was kind of Meyer. Yeah. That everybody was kind of coveting because he was a blocking tight end, and Dalton's kind of our, pass catching tight end ish.
He can block.
He can block, yeah. I think the thing with Kincaid for me is that he is kind of a question mark. He already showed you you know what he can do already. I think his ceiling hasn't even been reached. You know, he hasn't been playing football that long. He hasn't been playing the position that long, and he is already killing. First round pick. I really don't want to say the K name, but I know a lot of people are comparing him to Kelsey, and you can see flashes of that. I think him working it out, his body type, his height. I think you're going to see him split into the slot a lot, and maybe this isn't quite the tight end specific guy you're talking about. He's going to be running B's routes, but with his frame. You know,
he's not going to be asked to block down linemen. He's going to be blocking the safety that's across from him. And truthfully, how many safeties can stay with him?
Yeah.
He may get a nickel corner.
Yeah.
So I think he can handle a nickel corner in the run game.
Hell yeah. Jarrod, how do you feel about this tight end, Mr. Kincaid, being picked in the first round?
Well, I led the show off with saying tight end, really? But the more we talk about it, the more excited to get, especially with his 12 personnel. Watching film on this guy, he's got to bring a lot. He's going to have to change a lot in the NFL. You know, he's got a lot of bigger guys here, faster guys, so I think he has to adapt. But the thing that stood out most to me was his hands look so soft when he caught the ball, but his ability to, after the catch, turn his hips upfield and go is simply amazing. And he's fast as hell, and I love it. Cromer, if you're talking about how is he going to block, Cromer is going to get his hands on that tight end and teach him a thing or two of how to block. That's why he's there. 6'4", 246 pounds. He'll probably put on some weight. He'll get bigger. He'll get stronger. So I think if he's an average blocker now, he'll be better in the future. But this guy, I heard he had a basketball background. And the one thing that just keeps popping out to me is when he catches the ball, he gets upfield and he breaks tackles. And that's just going to be fun to see how this transpires throughout the year and what the offense looks like going into 2023. DK gun. That's what they're going to call it. The DK gun.
DK gun.
I got two things to add to that. When he catches the ball, it does not move once it touches his hands.
Nope.
Right.
And as far as his blocking, guys, like we mentioned earlier, he is very young, but he is, unlike a lot of people who establish themselves as a certain kind of tight end, he's eager to learn how to block.
Yes.
He just has, apparently his angles to get to the block and his all that stuff is there. So yeah, you're right, Jarrod. Cromer gets his hands on him. You never know. And as far as the 12 personnel, you may want to bring a 4-3 defensive scheme. You're not going to be able to cover them. This is what audibles are about. If you bring a 4-2-5 or a 3-3-5, now I don't care who you are, 6'4", 260-pound tight end is going to be able to block a cornerback any day in this league. So pick your poison. We got audibles. Very dangerous.
Is that your take?
Yeah, I already had my take. I kind of budged.
That's your double take?
That's DK squared right there.
That is your take. Say it with some conviction. That's your take?
That is my take. Yeah, I said it.
Final answer.
What you need to do is get back.
All right, now that we've left, this is how good we are at this show, all right? We have a 5-person panel, and we leave no meat on the bone just to send it down to Mr. Ryan Thomas. And RT, I'm going to give you this question here that came in from DF Forever over on YouTube. He said, I know it's early. Do you think that Kincaid will be a top 4 or 5 tight end? And do you think Dorsey will use Kincaid better than Knox has been used in the past? I got your back.
I think that's a multi-layered question, but it's the answer to that question is actually a better answer that actually just acknowledges the question, if that makes sense. I'll answer the question, of course.
Do it.
My answer to the question is, in terms of will he use Knox better than Kincaid, I think Knox is going to benefit from Kincaid, as well as Kincaid benefiting from Knox, because when both of these guys are on the field at the same time, who do you cover with 2 men? Who do you double cover on this offense? Do you double cover Stephon Diggs? The man that will benefit from this most outside of Josh Allen is Stephon Diggs. All season long this past year, people are talking about the back step that Gabriel Davis took. It's going to help him as well. But I think Stephon Diggs is going to be benefited greatly because that number 2 option wasn't really there as much as we would have liked it to have been for the Buffalo Bills last offseason, where bringing in a Dalton Kincaid, you have Dalton Kincaid over the middle. We can talk about NFL comparisons to Travis Kelce, I gave you guys one before we were on the air. I'm going to say it on the air. I see more George Kittle than Travis Kelce. In terms of his ability to get open over the middle of the field, in terms of his ability to break tackles in between the hash marks and run down the seam of the field. I mean, you guys know playing football, the speed lane of the field is down the sideline. You're almost running downhill. You see these guys pull away when they're running down the sideline. Dalton Kincaid can pull away from a corner running down the middle of the field, the meat of the grass, and he has the awareness to see with eyes in the back of his head to put him into the end zone. He's a game-breaking talent, and that's what you need to take in the first round, whether it's on the offensive side of the ball or the defensive side of the ball. And, you know, Rob brought up, you know, the wide receiver factor. A lot of Bills fans, we probably wanted, you know, a wide receiver just as much as anybody. I think that was a position that we were all talking about in our Facebook chat. And I would have liked that too. But when you go back and look at that draft, 20 to 23, 4 were taken in a row, and none of those teams were willing to trade down because they were just as shocked as anyone that one of those 4 wide receivers was available to take. So when those 4 wide receivers got picked, it was like Buffalo sitting at 27, Dallas sitting at 26. We don't want to give Dallas anything, let alone Dalton Kincaid. So we righted 2 wrongs by moving up 2 draft spots, taking those Super Bowls back, and maybe getting a guy that's going to help us win one with Dalton Kincaid. So I'm really pumped for this pick. I think that originally a lot of the Bills fans were in the right to be a little bit shocked that, oh, wow, we used a first rounder on a tight end. This isn't just any other tight end. This is a game-breaking talent. We know for certain that the tight end position has been completely changed over the last 10 years. It's taken over the game. You know, Kittle, Kelce, Antonio Gates, Tony Gonzalez, our own Rob Gronkowski. You know, all those guys will be in Canton, Ohio one day, I think. And who's to say that if Dalton Kincaid is on the Buffalo Bills with Josh Allen throwing him passes, that he might not be one day as well.
Oh, I like that.
I love it, dude. I absolutely love it. And I think, why not us? I think best available was the whole name of the game. I think people upset about wide receivers should not be upset. This is your playmaker, a possible generational talent that's going to come in and make Josh Allen's.
If he had not fallen where he was falling during those round stages where it was getting close to 20, that we were going to trade back.
Yep.
So there was really a mindset of going backward, picking up some more picks. Because keep in mind, this was the best tight end class I think we've seen in about a decade.
Definitely.
He's the elite guy in there. And I'm going to add on to Ryan's. And Jarrod was thinking he's kind of Kelce, which he is. And I like Ryan's adding in George Kittle. You know what the combination of those two are? That's Zach Ertz. And I don't think you can go wrong with that kind of tight end. Build him up a little bit, give him a little bit more weight on him. It's not going to take away from his ability at all, but it's going to substantiate a longer career playing the tight end position in the NFL.
For sure. And Rob, that's a key point because, you know, the one common denominator with Kittle and Ertz is that they both have a tough time staying healthy. Whereas, you know, for under the grace of God, the football gods, Travis Kelce has never suffered a major injury. He's never been hurt.
I don't know.
So it's something that
I don't know if
that's something
good.
that well, it's not good for us, but it's good for him.
Yeah,
you know?
I know.
We'll throw that out there. It's good for him, but good for some of the fantasy teams out there too. But no, that's what we want, and that's to Rob's point. You know, if Kincaid can gain some weight, and to Jared's point as well, if he can put some mass on his legs specifically, I think this guy is going to be even more versatile and more dangerous. Yeah. And I think that there's plenty of room for that football to go around. You just don't know who the football is going to go to with this offense. Right. And whenever you have that problem, it's a damn good problem to have.
Totally.
We got
Totally.
a nice debate going on in the YouTube comments right now. And once again, thanks so much for tuning into the K-Gun Report. We're here every Tuesday night, 24/7 Buff Pandemonium, Buff fan base presented by 26 Shirts. If you're there, please like, subscribe, comment, follow. We have a huge Facebook group, 10,000 plus strong, everywhere. Instagram, Twitter, all of our handles are out. You can follow everybody here and catch up on old episodes, all that good stuff. And thanks for contributing. This is a fan first show. We love all of your comments and questions. DF wanted me to make sure, and DF, I have not forgot about you, brother. He was asking more, I guess, about how Dorsey used Knox last year, and is that in any way an implication on how he would use or misuse Kincaid?
Can I take that one?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm
going to take that one. So a point that I want to bring up on Kincaid too, that I did forget to bring up and answer that question. I apologize, but this player, Dalton Kincaid, has actually been a player that Brandon Beane has actually sought hard after these last 3 years with OJ Howard and Tyler Croft. Those two guys, nothing against them, but they are nowhere near the specimen, all-around specimen of an athlete that Dalton Kincaid is. There's a reason why Kincaid was drafted in the first round. OJ Howard drafted in the first round in his own right. I don't know if he really had it between the ears in terms of getting the offense. Tyler Croft, not the fastest, player at that position. So maybe, in fact, those are the differences there. But my point is, with those two specimens on the field, with Knox and Kincaid at their highest ability, Dawson Knox is one of the best young tight ends in the league. We haven't reached that guy reaches ceiling yet, to Swank's point on Kincaid. When both of these guys are at the height of their power in year 1, year 2, year 3 of Dorsey's offense, I think the sky's the limit. And when those two guys are on the field at the same time, they will produce, because no one will know who to cover. No one will know the difference between Diggs, Knox, Kincaid. They'll all look at who's the wide receiver one. All of them are the wide receiver one. As long as Josh Allen's back there throwing them the football, they're all a massive problem. And I think Ken Dorsey is actually really amped up and ready to use both of these tight ends to actually free up some of the other options as well. Totally. And that's the type of offense they're going to run. It's going to be run from the inside out rather than the outside in, like it's been these last few years. It's going to be completely different than anything we've seen these last 3 years.
Mm-hmm. Well, we got a small glimpse of that with Morris being added to the roster last year. Mm-hmm. They did a little bit of 12 personnel towards the end. It looks sort of like an experiment, but you got a bit of a glimpse that, man, it really worked. We found Morris open a lot. So throw Kincaid in that position.
Yeah.
Whew, who knows?
Let's go.
Ken Dorsey also had, if you go back and look at the days with the U, he also had Kellen Winslow and Jeremy Shockey to throw to in college. So those are two tight ends that were pretty good in their own right. And having those two tight ends on the field at the same time, it just changes the whole dynamic of a opposition that the defense can throw at you.
All right, guys. So before we go to Torrance, I just want to throw in 2 more things. As far as the wide receivers going, if one of those 4 were available to Buffalo, they probably would have got him. We did get the 5th best receiving guy in the draft, and that was Kincaid. And second, Dorsey. McDermott already alluded to Josh Allen being different this year, and I think that has a lot to do with what he and Dorsey have talked about with this offense, using the running backs out of the backfield, using the run game, and potentially that 12 personnel. So I think a lot of it has to do with what McDermott has said before.
Theo over in YouTube also wants to have all of us remember that Dalton Kincaid could be used the way Greg Olsen was in Carolina. Book that.
Yes. They had Greg Olsen and Jeremy Shockey, and Ken Dorsey was there as well during that. So it's and I mean, the last time we've honestly seen 2 tight ends on one field do very, very well, one of them's going to be in Canton, the other one is no longer with us for obvious reasons. But I'm talking about Rob Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez, and that changed a lot. No defense really knew how to cover that until they were able to bring pressure to the quarterback with Tom Brady, who is probably one of the most unathletic quarterbacks of all time. You look at us in comparison to that, Josh Allen's one of the biggest unicorn quarterbacks that we've ever seen. So it's going to be fun, guys. It's going to be fun.
Absolutely. Everybody in the comments, love your take. Obviously, we're going to spend the most time on our first round pick,
Yep.
Mr. Dalton Kincaid. We're going to get this thing moving along. We're very, very obviously going to hit overtime. So, Patrick, you might as well go get another beer, my buddy.
So can I add one more thing with this?
Sure, man.
We got so much talent on this offense. Kincaid, Dawson, Diggs, Cook, their numbers are not going to be MVP numbers.
No.
They're going to be spreading the wealth. So if you're looking for
Exactly.
our number
Spreading
one pick to go out there and have 80 catches for 1,000 yards, you're grossly mistaken.
That's
This is going to be a
great point.
productive offense where everything's spread out. So
Only one football.
right, I don't care about Hall of Famers. I care about Super Bowls. And if this team works together, we're going to get there.
Yeah, that's a great point.
You know what my dad said, Jared? He said that football is going to have Band-Aids on it. 'Cause they're going to be punching and fighting over it. I thought that was funny. I had to throw that out.
Hey, if it results in a Lombardi in Western New York, I think everybody's going to be happy.
We're there for it. Absolutely there for it.
Oh yeah. I think that's there for it for sure.
I
know I'm going to be at the parade.
Awesome.
I'm taking the week.
Right up front.
Yeah, I'm taking the week. I'm going
Oh yeah.
one day.
Use my PTO for sure.
Hell yeah. It's going to be one day for every 5 years of misery that I've had. You know,
I've just got to
that's
ask
how
my
much
boss
PTO.
for time off. He doesn't give me any time off.
We'll get you.
Like a no-show.
We'll write you a note, Rob. Don't worry about it.
I love it.
All right, so we're going to move on here. I do want to just real quick, do not count out Gabe Davis. My boy Gabe Davis, I think, is coming back with a vengeance this year. That ankle really screwed him up. I think it threw him off his mojo, and I think you're going to see him come in with all this number 2 Hopkins kind of talk, and he's just going to destroy, especially with added weapons like Dalton Kincaid and Hardy taking the top off the defense. There's a lot of cool stuff. Shakir, all that stuff. I think you're going to see Gabe Davis eat this year the way a lot of fantasy owners wish that he would last year. So that's all.
He'll be healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Next up, if you can believe it, Mr. Osiris Torrance. Now, a lot of people in Bills Mafia were even more excited about this pick than they were the Dalton Kincaid pick. I concur. A lot of people had him mocked in the first round to go to the Bills anyway. I want to see the trenches get built. I did not want to see defense in these first 2 rounds. I really didn't. And I am so glad that they got this monster who never allowed 1 sack his entire college career, whose feet never leave the ground ever, 1,400 plus dropbacks. I mean, just a beast and an absolute
he's
anchor.
flat-footed, and he's got a size 17 shoe.
Love it.
He can't be any more of an anchor than that at 340 pounds.
The only guy on our team that could beat up Shaq in less than 5 minutes, Osiris Torrance. Scott, I got to let you go first on this, buddy. Go ahead.
I love the Kincaid pick, but this might be the best pick for Josh Allen. Not only does he bring a run blocking presence, but you can't move him backwards in the pass game. So that pocket won't collapse. Josh Allen won't have to roll out and do what he does best and extend the play. He'll be able to sit in the pocket because he's getting better at that and create a better offensive game plan. This guy, I tell you guys, this isn't a guy that's going to sit the bench. There is strategy behind this. Mitch Morse is 1 concussion away from ending his career. Ryan Bates is a center at heart. I think he can do a great job there. We got mean in the offensive line. We got really mean, and Cromer's going to be licking his chops for this one. I kept it short because this is an amazing pickup. First round value, snuck all the way to 50. I can't believe it. Great pickup. Good job, Bean.
Hell yeah. Let's see here. Dr. Bruce says that he can write a doctor excuse for anybody that needs it for the parade. So I wanted to throw that out.
I was going to say that too. He took my joke. Dang it.
We'll have him make one up and put it up for to print off on www.247buffpandemonium.com.
So Dr. Bruce knows my boss, so it might be a no-go still on that one.
I'm going to shoot it all the way down south to Ryan because I feel like you got shorted on that last one there. What do you think about our boy Osiris Torrance?
I absolutely love this pick. This is the equivalent of a Rafi Devers baseball reference, a towering shot that just goes right over the green monster at Fenway. baseball reference. Osiris Torrance, the interesting part about this is always after a pick, the first thing we got to do is kind of just check out the highlight film, right? But once this draft was over, the next thing we all did was we checked out what Brandon Beane had to say about it. And he's asked the question, what are his, thoughts on where they plan on putting Torrance? And he's played guard, he's played tackle. Really, the answer, and I'm paraphrasing here, I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but Brandon Beane said they see him as a guard, but he could potentially play anywhere along the offensive line. And I think come training camp, this is one of those guys that everyone is just going to marvel at based on his size, his stature, but his speed. The ability that he has in the trenches to move is startling. And if this guy is a guard, left or right, of course, what will that do for the run game? And that has been a key issue with this Bills offense for years, literally almost half a decade since Josh Allen got here, I'd say. Maybe since the days of Shady McCoy, that they haven't been able to establish like a pulling guard presence that brings fear into the edge rushers or fear into the linebacker that, hey, I might be trying to close in on James Cook here, but Osiris Torrance just knocked me flat on my rear end, and now James Cook is 30 yards down the field. I'm too late. This guy is so quick, and he reminds me of a just massive version of Richie Incognito, to be quite honest with you, a more than massive version of Richie. Richie was big, but this guy is superhuman, how massive of a man he is. And the fact that he fell, I was shocked. I was shocked that he fell as far as he did. There was a portion of the draft that I did miss a few picks, knowing that the Bills were in the late 50s. I was hoping that they would get to that, early 50 range or late 40 range and take this kid. I saw they did that, so I just assumed that they did that. And then I go on the Bills app, see, no, 59th overall where they were picking was where he was picked. I'm stunned. I think This is one of those picks that's going to go down in history as one of the best draft picks of this draft. And I think this guy is a Pro Bowl offensive lineman all day long. And Josh Allen has to be just so thrilled with Brandon Beane and what he was able to do for him. I agree with Scott. I did mention the Kincaid pick was a great pick for Josh, but this is the pick that I think is great for Josh Allen. It's great for James Cook. It's just great for the Buffalo Bills organization as a whole, because I really feel this guy fits what it means to be a Buffalo Bill.
His name, I'm over the track. Yeah, I said it. What you need to do is get back to
Yeah, Ryan Thomas said it. He sure did. And you know what? My boy Patrick Hughes, he's right on it because it's 9 o'clock. Here we go, folks. We're in overtime. That's right. It's 9. We're in overtime. If you're new to the show, that's what happens when we go more than an hour. We're going to keep talking. It's going to be a great time.
Swank, there was a question about an NFL comp. I like to comp him to the old Saints guard, Larry Warfield, 3-time Pro Bowler, played a lot of years for the Saints, very successful, same kind of build, carrying a little bit in the middle, but couldn't be moved.
Nice.
That's a good one. Yeah, I like that.
What do you think, Rob?
Let's hope we get that out of him. I'll tell you, I see his potential as even a Larry Allen-ish.
I was about to say that too. Yeah.
Well,
Wow.
his first 3 years, he played at the University of Louisiana for the Raging Cajuns, and he won he had some accolades coming from there. But his senior year, transferring over to Florida, you got to figure that's a learning curve. You're jumping up there a little bit. So I really believe there's a bigger ceiling, and I've heard that in a lot of analysts looking over him. He is a massive human being at 6'5", 340 pounds, but he's a plug-and-play starter already. And anchoring for the pass pro is outstanding because he's got the second longest arms wingspan in this draft. Davon Jones had a record, but Torrance wasn't far behind. And you get inside, you get that initial punch on that 3-tech or anybody who's lined up across you in zone, because that's what zone blocking is. You're taking that guy right in front of you. So he's automatically got an advantage over anybody that's lined up over him, including Aaron Donald, just because of his size. But watch the Senior Pro Bowl, go on YouTube and look at the one-on-one drills and watch how he dominated defensive tackles in practice one-on-one. He's an incredible pick. Think of him as like us drafting back into the trading back into the first. It was that value because guards were dropping. I don't honestly recall whether it was the first guard taken or not, but it had to have been the second guard taken at that point. But what an amazing steal, and how fortunate were we that we didn't have to move up to get him. He fell to us.
Absolutely. Crazy to me that he fell to where we were in the second round. It's absolutely insane. DF says a comp for him would be Chris Lindstrom of the Falcons.
I like
that's
that.
fair.
That's a good current one.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah.
Jarrod, do you have anything to add for Mr. Osiris Torrance and his second round draft slot?
Like what Rob said, if you want to see him playing against some elite college kids, go to the All-Star game there. He was wrecking everybody that he was going against in the one-on-ones. Arguably, we got the best tight end catching individual in the first round, and arguably we got the best guard in the draft. Later on, there was said to be we got the second best guard too, and that's for 2 picks away. But what a pick! When I saw that the Bills got him, I was ecstatic because I honestly thought that the Bills would be getting him at 27 because you see a lot of mock drafts where he was picked up. So what an absolute beautiful addition to this offensive line. Go Bills.
Hell yeah.
There's
not a lot left to say. He's a beast, and we can't watch to wait him pancakes, sons of bitches on the line. It's after 9
I can't wait
now.
to see that long arm.
Yeah. Well, he can get that initial punch right away on the defender in the zone blocking scheme. It's effective.
Yeah. He plays offensive line like he's a defensive tackle.
Exactly.
he throws people around. Just he's very violent, and that's the only way to look at it. And that's the only word I can describe it. I've never really seen an offensive lineman that's a guard that's that quote unquote young and raw move that well and be that step ahead. He plays well beyond his years to me, and I think that is telling of kind of what I forecasted. He's a Pro Bowl caliber, offensive lineman, which is pretty rare to find these days.
And I mentioned you can't knock him backwards, and he does get to the second level quick, and he also is a hell of a pulling guard. So those counters and those
James Cook,
crazy.
Let's go.
Just wait for Cromer to get his hands on him. That's another.
That's it. That's it. That's a great point because he hasn't had that kind of coaching already. He had 1 year at Florida, and you've got class and everything else going on. He's a pro now. He's in. Cromer's going to mold him into something special.
Have we started the 24/7 bet board yet? We talked about this.
Not yet.
I really want to do this. There needs to be a spreadsheet, and I want this to be like a long distance thing, a short distance thing. But all this talk is getting me so excited for Cook. Like, I think Jimbo's going to eat. Second year, you really beefed up some positions.
I'm trying to trade for him in
Are you?
every league I'm in.
Hell yeah. He's official
the guy
number
had
one.
the-
People are unwilling yet, but I'll make it happen.
Yeah.
He had the most yards per carry with an injured offensive line the entire season.
Yeah.
In limited role.
He maximized every opportunity he had,
He's going to be sick this year.
and there wasn't many.
You're going to see highlight
stuff.
reels very similar to what you saw in Georgia.
Yeah.
I love it. I want to see it. I want it. But that's why we need to start the bet board. What
Swank, I'm 0-2 against you, so I'm not betting against you anymore.
0-2. That said 2-0. You got to go. The camera mirrors it.
So
Other way.
let's go.
There you go. Bet board's the place to be, man. It's all about beers. The bet board is full of beers. That's all it is.
There you go. There you go.
Let's see here. God, I could talk on this dude all night. We can't do it though. All right. We're going to one big need that we felt like we had to have in this draft. Linebacker. Everybody was chomping at the bit, banging on the table for it. We got him. Dorian Williams. Now there's mixed reviews across Bills Mafia for this young man from Tulane, but from what I can see, man, he hits hard. He's fast. He reminds me a little bit of a guy we already got playing linebacker back there in Mr. Matt Milano. So
Right.
I'm going to go down to Rob Mullen. Give us your take
Thank
on
you.
Dorian Williams.
I'm glad you started with me because this is a player I followed religiously through the season. mainly because you know that I was really scouting out 4-2-5 linebackers. I had Noah Sewell, Henley, the two were captains, because when you're talking about replacing Tremaine Edmonds, you're talking about the captain of the defense. You got somebody that's bringing in the play call from the sideline, because they do make audibles. They do have to make proper corrections on the field. And Dorian was captain of that defense. And I got a label for you: cerebral stat stuffer, because that's exactly what he was in the very same role that Tremaine Edmonds played. I know there's talk, and we'll see in camp how it all works out. That Bernard's got an opportunity here. Maybe Dotson might start the season. But if we were to take one player out of this draft, out of all of them, this is the one guy that fits the position perfectly for everything he's able to do, because his sideline to sideline's like nobody else. He's like a heat-seeking missile to the ball, and he always seems to be in the right place at the right time, and he can cover. He can make up ground so quick, because that's an off-the-ball position. That's why Tremaine got the money he did, because by NFL, I'm talking too long, but I apologize.
You're good.
There's just so much to love about this guy. I could go on and on all night.
I love it, Rob.
I love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it.
Rob is a wealth of information and knowledge, and like I said, if you go,
I love the knowledge, but I love the passion.
The passion's
that's
there,
that's
dude.
what I'm here
That's
for.
what I'm here for.
Hey,
Absolutely.
Hey.
This isn't reading a textbook, goddammit. This is a sermon, and I love it.
Why do you think we got you two guys involved with us?
Yeah, that's right.
Pump
Best
up the
podcast on
volume.
the net.
To pump up the volume.
Well,
Let's go.
Woo. All right, well, let's go right down to the next 24/7 blog content creator, analyst, that sweet, sexy voice of RT down there. What do you got to say about our boy, Mr. Williams?
This is a interesting pick for all the reasons that Rob mentioned, but I want to talk about just in terms of the reaction initially, and then I'll give my take on the pick. I'll be brief. Don't worry, guys.
No, you're good.
So in terms of the reaction, this was met with mixed results by the Bills Mafia. And I'm going to put it to Bills Mafia like this, okay? And it's the only way I know how to do it. I got to be blunt with this take here. And I'm not putting anybody down. I'm just being honest. And I think every Bills fan will agree with me with this take. Long gone are the days where a third-round draft pick of the Buffalo Bills is an instant starter. It's not going to happen. There's not many starting spots on this roster for a third-round draft pick to just come in and take the job. He's got to come in and earn the job, because we have pieces on this defense already that have been here these last few years that are ahead of Dorian Williams, only in terms of knowing this defense that Sean McDermott runs. But as I say that, and as you watch the tape, Dorian Williams also knows and has played within the style and scheme that Sean McDermott has ran, along with Leslie Frazier, who's now gone, but 4-2-5, right? So when you put the tape on and you watch Dorian Williams, you see that. You see a lot of Matt Milano. I see this kid coming in here and soaking up as much knowledge as humanly possible from one of the best recent draft picks by the Buffalo Bills and Matt Milano. And I see this guy being a great rotational linebacker piece initially in his rookie year, as well as being one of the best special teamers that the NFL has to offer. Maybe that's a little overzealous of me to say that, but that's a phase of the game that does matter, that we don't really talk about enough, that the NFL's tried to eliminate, but it's still a part of the game, whether people want to admit it or not. Dorian Williams will be out there flying around, knocking teeth out of the kick returner, and then he'll go back to the sideline. Matt Milano will play, a couple downs. He'll come in and do his part. And that's what he's going to do probably for the first couple years of his career. And then it's going to turn into a more of a role, and he'll be better for it. And I think the skill set, the personality, he seems like he's really aware of where he's at as a player coming in as a rookie. I really appreciate that. I would hate to see a guy come in and just be boisterous and say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. That's not the type of character guys that this team is looking to find anyway. This is a high character dude that I think is going to come in, learn, and take part and try to take over.
That's what you want. Competition is a big part of this. I some of his tape, I mean, like I said, it seems like he's got a nose for the ball. He looks like he plays with a chip on his
Instincts.
shoulder. He's a little bit mean. I love it. The special teams is huge. I'm going to get into that a little bit with our next pick. In shorter, I thought Bean had some interesting things to say about his press conference and that. Really quick, Chris Christian had a question. Isn't Dorian a little bit undersized for his position?
I'll jump in on that. No, he is not. Look up the best linebackers in the league right now. They're anywhere between 5'11" and 6'2". 6'1", 230 pounds is Matt Milano's an elite linebacker, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
Our linebackers in this league are off-ball linebackers. We don't have a true middle inside linebacker because we run that 4-2-5 a lot. So he's the perfect size for this defense. And in fact, he's perfect size to play for 90% of the NFL football teams that are out there. So his size, long are we away from having those 6'3", 6'4", 250-pound linebackers. Doesn't exist anymore. He's the perfect size for linebacker.
And he was the MVP of the Cotton Bowl there against USC, which is elite Power 5 conference competition, which transfers over to the NFL. He had, 12, 14 tackles? No, I think it was even closer to 18 tackles in that game.
I think it's 17 or 18, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere in that range.
So
I
my
agree
2
with
cents
Scott.
about this, my 2 cents about
Nice
this
one.
guy is it's going to be interesting to see what he brings to the NFL. Ryan, you said it already. He's instinctual with it when it comes to this game, but his anticipation before the snap, if he can bring that mindset and the knowledge of the game to the NFL from college and still do the same thing, he's another Matt Milano. He's moving before the ball snapped, and he's going in the right direction. So if he can learn the game, sit back, take his notes from the vets that are there, and continue with his instincts and his knowledge of the game and his anticipation, he's going to be dangerous.
You know who else does that? Terrell Bernard, our 3rd-round draft pick last year.
Mm-hmm.
We got some
That's
depth.
the favorite. That's the favorite right now, I think, for the middle linebacker spot. And without getting too far deep into it, I do think they have so much down in that position that we haven't even seen it because of who we've had, these last few years. Now that Edmonds is gone, we're going to get a chance to see these guys, and I think they're really ready for the opportunity.
And it's a good open competition amongst the three of them. Dodson may start the season.
Mm-hmm.
Truthfully, at Oregon, Bernard's position was Milano's. He played, and he was brought in here to back up Milano. Maybe, if they didn't get to the contract they did at the time during the season last year, he might have been Milano's eventual successor. But without question, Dorian Williams played the same exact role as Edmonds at a high level, the same exact position, and it's there on tape, and you can see it.
I love it.
Great stuff.
I think it's exciting. I think he's fresh legs. I think he's hungry. I think he's a perfect fit for Buffalo, and he'll have every chance in the world to get on the field and show that. I think McDermott is king of letting players get their feet wet, get in there, get comfortable, and some people would say to a fault. I don't think so. I like where James Cook is. I like the way that he's evolved, and I can't wait to see the workload that he gets this year. Nobody's going to say that James Cook was sat too long last year once he hits the field this year, because it's going to be nothing but fireworks. Put it on.
Yeah, and you saw that throughout the season. You saw him gradually getting better and better and his knowledge of the game kicking in. So this is going to be his prime season, Swank, right there with you.
After his first carry being a fumble, right? Like, I mean,
yeah.
You come in with confidence, trying to show yourself, get a little nerves, and the game is not exactly what you can't ever imagine how fast the game is. And then you do something like that.
He brings so much more than running to the position.
Yeah.
That guy in space catching balls the way he did in Georgia, we start throwing screens at these teams in that 12 personnel formation.
Boom.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Tough stuff.
He gone. All right. We're moving
or
on.
a toss with Osiris Torrance. Boom.
Boom.
Boom. People.
Yeah.
How many slow-mo pancake blocks? Oh, I can't wait. All right. Long gone are the days of the Smurf wide receiver locker room. We now have more wide receivers that are over 6 foot or over, I should say, than not. And to top them all off at 6'4", this guy right here, Mr. Justin Shorter, misleading last name. he should be Justin Taller. Get it? So
Got it.
I'm excited about this dude. He came in to his collegiate career and early on was rated higher than Waddle, St. Brown, how many others?
Pretty much every receiver that is good right now.
Yeah.
Like in the NFL.
Yeah. So he's got
under
that,
24.
Yeah. He's got that potential. I know there's some question about his hands, had some drops, that kind of thing. Jarrod, I want to start with you. How do you feel about bringing a monster pterodactyl, Tyrannosaurus Rex, lumbering, huge Shaq type wide receiver to the Buffalo Bills?
You mentioned the first thing he has, maybe a little catching issue. I'm sure he's going to be going with Dawson Knox and hitting up that jugs machine. They have that there, every facility. But no, this guy's a monster. He's jacked. Reminds me a lot of DK Metcalf. We'll see what happens. I mean, special teams, being a tall guy, that might be his spot. I know you mentioned that a little earlier, Swank, about maybe seeing him on special teams, but he's going to earn a spot. I don't know where it's going to be. It's a great addition to the roster, but he's got a lot of good talent in front of him that he can learn from. And it only takes one shot, and getting seen on a good play to get recognized. And then all of a sudden you're moving up in the spots. So it's going to be interesting to watch. And I can't wait to see it. Our tight ends, you never know. Tight end might be an option for this guy. He's so big. Just adding him to that. And if you watch Kincaid's film, he lined up often off the tight end spot about 3 yards to the right or left. He was never in that on the line of scrimmage. So he might be another guy that could put in a tight end position and put him right there in that close slot position. So I can't wait to see what he brings to the team, and it's going to be interesting to watch. And like I said, he's going to learn from the best.
Hell yeah. RT, what do you got?
Man, I think that this is one of those picks that we've actually hit on the wide receiver position in the later rounds. Gabe Davis, I think Khalil Shakir is a stud. I really do. I think he's actually going to get some good touches this year as well. I think he saved the Bills in a lot of clutch situations that kind of going unnoticed. And I was talking about that with a buddy of mine the other day, but neither here nor there. This is a pick, Justin Shorter, that I think kind of fits that mold. Is a late round wide receiver talent that fits the mold of what we're looking for as far as physicality with this offense that we've seen them add to it on the offensive line as well as the tight end position with Kincaid. And I'm curious because when I watch Justin Shorter's tape, for as big as he is, usually guys that are that big can't bend. They can't get low to the ball. They're always getting high to the ball. That's their high pointing constantly. This dude is elusive. For his size, he has the ability to bend low, get low passes, and create yards after catch. I've seen him line up out wide. I've seen him line up inside. I've seen him block. I've seen him do a little bit of everything. There was one play where Anthony Richardson had kind of like a rollout, and they just tossed it to him on the sideline, and he took it down the sideline for like 30 yards. He's got that type of running back, wide receiver vision that I think is very interesting, and I think that's probably what jumped out at a lot of colleges, which made him the #1 high school recruit in 2018. You alluded to that, Swank. So
Right.
I'm curious to see how he fits with this team. It's an uphill battle in terms of these late round picks, but his skill set is a rare one. And I'm going to be rooting for this guy. This is another guy that comes St. John Fisher time, number 18 for the Buffalo Bills, Justin Shorter, is going to be somebody that I'm going to be circling on that newspaper they hand you at St. John Fisher. I'll be like, let's keep our eyes on that guy.
Yep.
Why not?
I'll tell you, being in this presser, all but said, I've never heard him say this about anybody. Maybe Josh Allen, or obvious Stephon Diggs, whatever. He all but said that this kid is on the team, has a jersey, barring some setback. He plays all 4 stages of special teams. He's a big receiver, and he thinks that he brings some versatility. And it sounds to me like if the GM's saying that, and the GM never says that about a play, it's always
Never says that.
well, best guy, whatever. It's competition. Whoever goes out there, best player plays. and they're saying it about this kid. I think they sneaky see something ridiculously special in him, and he's going to get his opportunities.
They do.
Scotty, what do you got?
I forgot to mention another late rounder, Isaiah Hodgins, who went to the Giants and did really well, but I think they hit on this one for sure.
I think so too. Scott, what do you got?
Anthony Richardson was one of my favorite quarterbacks coming into this draft. I thought potentially he would have been the first one taken off the board. Strong arm, can extend the play, can throw the ball a mile. He reminded me a lot of Josh Allen, a work in progress. And this guy was catching balls from him. One of his favorite targets, he only had 29 catches, but they went for about 20 yards a catch. He's a burner. At 4.5 is no joke when it comes to speed for somebody at 6'4" and this guy's size.
Yeah.
I'm excited for him. He could play all over the place. Like Jarrod said, he could probably line up on the line of scrimmage and help block. And that creates mismatches. And it's all about mismatches. And, we need to score points. And this is a hell of a red zone presence. So I'm excited for him. Right now, I have him 6th on my wide receiver depth chart. So he starts according to my depth chart.
In these upcoming shows here, we got to do the 24/7 projected 53-man here. I know we usually split it into offense and defense. So, and I'm sure Rob will have something up on the website with all that too. Rob, you got anything to add about Mr. Shorter here?
Yeah, I think it's an outstanding pickup. You got to consider he played with Penn State there for a few years, transferred over to Florida his senior season, and like Ryan had mentioned, he was the first wide receiver in the 2018 class out of high school. You've got Waddle and Jamar Chase in that mix there, and he ended up, I think he was number 8 overall in terms of regards of his talent. But if I were to say to you, just think of any receiver that's played in the last decade, 6'4", 223, 229 pounds with probably 2% body fat. He's a gym rat. The guy is strong. Who comes to mind?
Calvin Johnson.
For me, it was Josh Gordon. He's Josh Gordon 2.0 without the attitude and all the baggage that comes with it.
A little bit of that too. I mean, we'll throw that out there. Hopefully, he's not doing much of the smoke.
Right. No, he's got a pretty cool background, and
Yeah.
You want to talk about some of the drops? I don't know. Those are contested catches. It's the same deal with Gabe. I could debate that all day long about the 6-7 drops there, but he's a big physical contested catch 50-50 ball guy without question. And if you remember who Josh Gordon was and what he represented to Cleveland as a wideout, that's the potential he's got. So to Swank's point, did they have an idea in mind when he's there? Yeah, I think they did.
Hell yeah.
Think of a red zone package with Dawson Knox, Dalton Kincaid, Gabe Davis, and Justin Shorter with it.
And try out muscling him.
Good luck high pointing one of those guys.
Yeah. Allen will find the mismatch for sure.
Look at those guys. Yeah, for sure.
Really quick here before we quickly go over the last 2 rounds here. Mike Eddy, a little bit ago here, he was asking, can I get your 5's opinion on trading Ed Oliver? Do we have any opinion on whether a trade?
It's viable.
I'll take a stab.
Do it, dude. Stab away.
I think if it was going to happen, it already would have happened. Number one, just like the DeAndre Hopkins trade, and it probably would have been in that trade. Okay, that's my take on it. But number two, I think that you have to see that last year through with that first round player to see if he can prove his worth. And I think Rob mentioned it. This is his contract year. He's got to earn it. You have to get that answer as to whether he is going to prove it or whether he's not. You can't necessarily answer that question before you even give him the opportunity to answer it, on the field. And, I didn't like a lot of the things that he said in the offseason, the tweeting or the Instagram stories and things like that. But these guys live, breathe, and literally risk their lives to play football. When they're not doing that, I'd imagine that life can get pretty boring. So he's probably just trying to just stoke the fire, talk a little smack, just try to, wake himself up a little bit. Didn't really pick the right way to do it by, talking about your employer. But at the same time, I think all that stuff will be in the rearview mirror once training camp gets going and you start to see Ed Oliver come to camp in shape, knowing the situation, I think, as well as he does. And I think he's going to have a good year this year. I'm actually pretty excited to see what he brings to the table. Not ready to give up on that guy yet.
He's got the mindset that
Personally.
he wants to get paid. He's got the mindset that he wants to get paid.
Well, there's
This is
only
the
way
year
that's
that he has
one way
to
that's going
produce
to happen.
something to get paid.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Great,
He's
great
got to do
point.
it this year.
Mark Maddox.
Yep.
Every time he's on the show, they got to get what they can get while they can get it. This is their whole life. So I understand it. I think if you're gonna forgive Poyer, you got to forgive Oliver. It might not be exactly the same thing. And I think a lot of people's argument is that he's had all these years to prove it and should have done so a little more sturdily than he has. I think last season was his best season.
Right.
This season it could be that one that puts it over the top. Part of me kind of hopes that it's not, so that we can afford to keep him because I like him. But I don't want to see him. I'd like to see him do above average, but not crazy above average, and then everybody else eats, and that'd be fine. But hey,
Puna Ford had better numbers than he did last year.
there you go.
And I've always said that Oliver doesn't do a lot to make the other people around him better. The other people make him look better. And with Puna Ford coming in, Puna Ford, Jones there, Settle, and the defensive line that they have, and Ed Oliver on a contract year, he's got to have a good year, like you just mentioned. But Puna Ford is someone to keep an eye on and potentially could start getting more snaps than Ed Oliver.
Right. I agree. 100%.
Puna.
Hell yeah.
Totally. I saw that the very minute that it was this afternoon when it was announced that we signed him. I saw exactly what Scott was saying. Think about what Ed's been since he's been here. When has he been really productive? When Starr was here, who was eating up the double team?
To be honest, when Vaughn was healthy, everybody was doing well.
Yeah.
That's the key.
Yeah.
To me, that's the key.
Our two best, here's the best way to look at this. Our two best games of the year were the first two. Look how great Tremaine Edmonds looked and Milano looked in those two games if you go back and look at the tape. And why was that happening? Because they were playing clean. They didn't have guards coming up and hitting them immediately in the secondary. You're talking about stoking that interior now, tying people up, and that's what's going to free Ed. Ed is not the guy to absorb those double teams. He's already had knee issues already, so
he's an undersized defensive tackle. There's no doubt about it. I mean, he's an undersized defensive tackle. I mean, his body is what his body is, and like Scott said, his skill is heightened by the bigger body that's next to him. When that bigger body was Harrison Phillips, and then he's gone, and then you have this rotating, group of defensive tackles, Justin Zimmer and all these guys that did make impacts, but it wasn't quite the same as what Phillips and Jordan Phillips and Harrison Phillips brought. And Jordan Phillips was hurt last year. He got hurt too. He was playing hurt. So I think I'm not. I don't agree with what you're saying. I don't think Ed Oliver is produced, especially based on where he was picked. But I'm not quite ready to give up on. I want to have him answer the question this year. I like the idea of, you want more money, prove it. This is a business at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Well, we're probably not going to carry 5 defensive tackles. So there's somebody that's going to be out of the picture here.
No.
And it's probably Tim Settle if they follow through with your line of thinking, Ryan. I don't see Settle making the team.
Mm-hmm. I like Settle.
And the best ability is availability, and he got hurt too, though. So it's like, what do you do? Do you keep a guy that got hurt over a guy that's healthy, like Puna?
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that we extended Jordan Phillips. I kind of feel like, ever since he left, he's been injury prone. It was a great story bringing him back, but I was really shocked that they actually brought him back.
Well, that injury wasn't just like a freak injury. It was kind of Drew Brees-ish, the way he landed. You've got a 340-pound guy extending out for the tackle. I'm not sure why, because he wasn't going to get to the quarterback.
No, he was. It was
the
great
way he
effort.
landed with all that weight, that good luck not injuring anything in that
Right.
scenario.
Mhm.
How big a man he is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're gonna get hurt when you're falling like that. All right, kiddies. It's 9:30. We got 2 draft picks left to discuss. Guard Nick Broker and cornerback Alex Austin. I think we're gonna lightning round this because I'm sure that the Reed boys are getting texts and calls from their baby's mamas right now, and it's getting to be that time. So we'll start right around to let's see, my scooter. Go ahead, buddy.
My Scott.
Broker's the next one online up. The guy is a good pass protector. He's
Get
a
'em
good,
both.
He's played he's played left tackle. He's played left guard, so he's got experience. He's one of those guys that transition from one side to the next. I saw, I think Rob or RT posted this earlier, that he potentially was the second or third best guard in the draft.
I did.
I had him mocked at 5th round, and he went in the 7th. I think it's a steal. And again, the whole Cromer conversation, I think the Bills got some depth for not only this year, but potential years to come. He may be a starter.
Well, he was
And,
2022 second team All-American.
right.
So he didn't have a bad year. I just think guards dropped in general this year. I had him where you did, Scott. I had him 5th round. He's a versatile swing tackle, can play guard, tackle, and center. He's going to be a backup. He's just got to get stronger in his core. If you happen to go to check out Torrance in those drills, you're going to see Brocker get pushed around quite a bit on the one-on-ones. So he's development, and with Cromer, we might have a really great backup.
I like it.
And to Rob's point, you need as much depth on that offensive line, and they looked
Yes.
at the offensive line this year and they attacked it. Free agency, draft, they did a phenomenal job at just actually prioritizing that. And I felt like they tried to these last couple years, but it was with older guys where they're bringing in younger guys that are on good contracts now, rookie contracts, mid-round rookie contracts, and they're guys that are players that have skills that you can develop. And the one thing about Broker that I thought that Scott kind of mentioned, you get a few draft magazines along the way at your local Wegmans or Tops. And, I got this draft magazine and I'm sifting through it cover to cover, February and March and April, of course. And they rated the 2 top guards in the draft class, Osiris Torrance and Nick Broker. And that's someone else's ranking. It wasn't necessarily mine, but somebody that literally wrote the magazine cover to cover, spent a lot of time, watching these players and scouting these players. I'd like to have the name, but I can't think of it off the top of my head. But Nick Broker being that second best guard, and Osiris Torrance was the first on that list. We got both of them according to this ranking. And I find that interesting. I think that it's going to mean a lot for the future of their offensive line. I think they're building depth, and they're going to need it. There's guys on this offensive line that are a little older as well that can be susceptible to injury. Mitch Morse, I don't know if Nick Broker can play center, but he did play left tackle and he did play guard. So depth is always good, and this is a good piece to add this late in the draft to pick 230.
He didn't allow a single sack in 472 snaps.
There you go.
Yeah, that's just what I was going to say. He moved to guard in 2022, almost 500 snaps. He didn't allow 1 sack. So that's the guard we brought in for that. So
and 23 starts, 23 total games, I should say, at left tackle. So that's a lot. That's a lot over that span. So I like the swing ability that he has.
I love it. I mean, I've been singing from the rooftops here that we need to start building this team like the Tom Brady era Patriots, as far as they need to keep bringing in offensive line all the time. Anytime you can bring in some, and you need to have that competition constantly, because the most important thing on your team right now is to make sure that Josh Allen is upright and healthy.
Right.
And that's it.
We got to win in the trenches on both sides of the ball.
100%.
They need him to be healthy all year long, so that he's healthy going into the playoffs. That's what, we can't have what happened last year happen again. And he played through that.
Yeah.
So, but we don't want that. We don't want him playing through injuries. We want him to stay healthy.
Yeah.
And this is the way to do that. Sure.
Absolutely. Really quick, cornerback Austin. Any hot take, real fast little tidbits we want to go about that? Go ahead, Jarrod. What do you got? Dancing around.
He won the Warfel Trophy watch list, which is community service. So they're bringing in the cornerback that's going to be watching and learning from the 3 studs that we have now: Taron Johnson, Elam, and Tre'Davious White. He's going to learn a lot from them, but he's got a community. He's out there in the community doing good things. So he's a good individual to come in this team. So you can't help but vote for him to be successful.
Character guy.
said.
6'1", 200 pounds. He's a big, strong guy. Has wide receiver background, so the guy has good hands, and he's a man guy. So I don't know what McDermott's doing with this, bringing in man defender corners, but we shall see. We shall see.
Yeah, he's a developmental pick. I mean, he's got very long arms for being short at 6'1". His wingspan's pretty incredible, but he shows the ability to be able not just play man. He's got his hips turned. He's very fluid. He had a 3rd round grade, fell all the way to the 7th round. There's a lot of people that saw some serious potential in this kid.
Mm-hmm.
I think we got lucky. It's 7th round. What are you going to get in that round?
Yeah.
I saw, to Scott's point, and Rob kind of touched on it. We did see him in man. That's the defense that the college is running, but I saw some ability and potential to play zone that most rookie corners don't have. Most colleges are we're just playing this, straight down the seams. And I thought that from what I saw some consistency in terms of man, but I also saw some ability in terms of zone to play multiple coverages. And I think that this kid is actually going to be a starter in 3 years. That's the hot take I think that I've had. It might be the hottest take that I've had all night long, but I really think that this dude. No. And I truly agree. I mean, in terms of the physicality, the ability at 6'1", he is the prototype of what most teams really covet that they can't really seem to find as far as his length and his size and his speed. And I think he's smart enough to learn the emphasis. I mean, if any one position is as important as any in Sean McDermott's defense, it's corner. And I loved the Kyer Elam pick last year. I think that he's going to develop. I do think we'll see Christian Benford move to safety eventually, but he was obviously a gem that they found out of Villanova, their ability to find these late round cornerbacks has been insanely good. And even Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde in their own right. Jordan Poyer wasn't a starter prior to coming here, and Hyde was just on the precipice of being a starter. So if anybody knows how to find a decent late round corner, it's Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott.
Yeah, the scouting department's done their job.
Yeah,
100%
for sure.
100%. All right, guys.
Yeah, 3 years time, that dude could be a starter for sure.
You're right, Ryan.
Yeah.
Be nice.
I'll take all the depth, and I think you see Kyer. I think you see Kyer eat this year too. I think he's going to get it. It's all going to connect.
He was their best corner, I thought, last year. I thought he was phenomenal. Yeah. I really did, especially against Tyreek Hill.
We're running really late here, but I got one quickie comment if I can get in.
Go ahead.
I know we're not touching on our undrafted free agents, but we got a gem in Garage from Florida. This kid's got potential. I think they can work with him. I think they're hopeful they can. He was invited to the Senior Bowl. He's a teammate of Torrance's. He played right tackle. He's got the prototypical size, 6'5", 308 pounds, very fluid. That kid held his own in Senior Bowl practices. So if you are going to go over to YouTube, look for one-on-one drills, Senior Bowl. You're going to see a lot of what we talked about tonight, and you're going to see exactly what we commented on and mentioned.
Hell yeah. All right, kiddies.
I'm ready for training camp.
Yeah, me too, man. Me too.
Let's go.
I have not been able to go up here since before COVID, and I'd really like to get to St. John Fisher this year and maybe take Mrs. Swank out there, Let
There
her
you go.
let her scream at some people. It'd be great.
Well, let's hope this isn't the last year at St. John Fisher.
I think they like doing it, man. I think that they've scaled it back
Yeah.
enough to like.
Well, they only extended it 1 year, so let's hope for the best.
Yeah, I mean, I think
I
it's
think by
important.
2020, I think by 2026, we're going to see a very, very state-of-the-art training camp-esque facility.
Facsimile.
You're right.
That was a Jim Carrey reference. No, I definitely think that they will make that happen. But I do love me some St. John Fisher, Rob. I agree with you. There is something about it that it has a charm to it, that it's a very intimate setting, small, but you can hear everything. You can hear the
Roger
hits.
Goodell thinks it's the best training camp in the NFL.
Sweet.
Yeah,
I mean,
hear the
I know
grunting.
it's native, but
You can hear the coaches too, and that's pretty fun.
Yeah. All right, kids. This turned into a double overtime extravaganza. I loved every single second of it. This draft was super fun. I could not wait to get back to do this with all of you guys tonight because after missing the draft show and all that stuff, I just was busting at the seams to be able to talk to all you beautiful sons of bitches about all this great stuff. I did want to tease really quick for next week. We got some cool stuff coming up, but I want to touch on this Warren Sharp tweet about teams that have won by more than one score since 2021. And you might be surprised, spoiler alert, the Bills are 18 on that list. And we were living through that whole era where people were talking about how we weren't winning by more than one score. And we are at the top of that right now. So that'll be a talking point for next week. We're going to run around this here panel real quick, do our final thoughts and our goodbyes. We'll start with Mr. Scooter Magooter. Scott, what do you got?
I'll make it sweet and simple, guys. Love the show. Rob and RT, thanks for joining us. Don't be afraid, guys. If you're watching the show, hit up www.247buffpandemonium. We have blogs, we have merch, we have access to our websites, and we have access to the Buff fan base and 26 shirts because that's who we roll with and that's who our sponsor is. Couldn't be more happy to be a part of all that. And obviously, you guys, the fans commenting, amazing stuff. Keep up the good work. We wouldn't be here without you. Love you. Cheers. Go Bills.
Well said.
Damn.
Way to go. I like that.
Patrick Hughes says overtime with extra innings. I love it. J-Rod, what do you got over there? It's really ambitious, but you're muted.
If mute, I
There
know
you
I
go.
hit it twice. Tune in next week. We're gonna do a giveaway show. Steve Tasker 8x10. Baby's crying in the background if you can't hear him. And we're gonna give away some stickers and some koozies. I've been in talks with Nate Turner, Mark Maddox, and Brad Lamb. They're all coming back in May and June. So we're gonna have some special guests coming up soon.
Hell yeah.
Take care of yourselves, and we'll see everybody next Tuesday. We'll talk more football.
Awesome.
Go Bills.
Nice. Mr. Rob Mullen, you got any final thoughts and tell people where they can find you and your work?
Well, I got to tell you, with the draft, I haven't slept a whole lot. It's so exciting, and everything, just even the excitement of pre-draft and the falling down to where we ended up and the talent that we got down through the board. I mean, look, it's 9:45, and we haven't really touched on all of what we acquire. We didn't even touch on the undrafted free agents. There's a lot to be excited about, and a lot of questions are going to get answered this year. We were 13-3 with an injured team. It was like a mash unit last year. There's a lot of hopeful for this 2023 season. The pieces are falling in place. Of any year, I think this is our year. I know, I said that, but
hey, I love it. I love it. I love it. The earlier the
Cheers,
better.
cheers to that.
Hell yeah. You get it out of the way
Cheers.
early, then it's just the theme for the whole season. Love to have you, Rob. Thanks so much for all your insight, man.
appreciate being here. Love all the fans too. Thanks, guys.
RT, what do you got, buddy?
Well, boys, it's always a pleasure hopping on the 24/7 Buff Fandemonium K-Gun Report with Scott and Swank, but I'm happy that I was able to do it with Jarrod as well as Rob this time around. It was a fun panel. It was a great time. And there's no better topic to have a 5-man wrecking crew than the 2023 NFL draft that was for the Buffalo Bills, was, is, and always will be a draft to remember for the best of reasons, I believe. So we're going to get a lot more content out for the people at home tuning in. I know you guys will, and I'm happy to be a part of it. And any way that I can help, you guys know, you always got me at your disposal. This has just been an awesome last few months as far as what talent we've seen. And I can't wait for that time of year where I'm getting those texts from Swank and Scott that say Sunday sessions,
Right.
game post-game shows, recapping the games, player of the week. We're rolling 6-0. We're rolling 11-2. We're rolling back into the playoffs. AFC's champs of 2023 and Aaron Rodgers is once again sitting at home crying.
Counting his mushrooms, getting ready for that darkness retreat.
Getting ready for that darkness retreat. But you guys can follow me on social media at Ryan Thomas Take on Twitter, the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. I'll be having Scott and Swank on. Of course, Jarrod and Rob, more than welcome to come on as well. Feel free to hit me up anytime. I'm always down, as you guys know, to talk football. Whether it's you guys that are on the show with me or anybody that's tuning in, feel free to hit me up. I'm all about it.
Awesome.
Hell yeah. Make sure you go and follow these two gentlemen. And of course, we're everywhere. 24/7 Buff Fandemonium's everywhere. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube's, anywhere that you want it, we got it, And don't forget, we got a new merch store, our bonfire site. If you go there and you type in K Gun Report, all caps, no spaces, you'll receive 5% off all sorts of orders there. Anything you want in the store. Just our little thank you from us to you for being so supportive and tuning in. Great night, man. Love this team. Getting more and more amped up for this season. It's crazy how it builds to the draft, and now here we are at the break, and it's time to go. It's time to get into these camps. It's time for training camp. I don't want this lull. I want it to be football tomorrow. So
it's coming.
Yeah.
It's coming.
Yeah.
Thank you to everybody who's tuned in and stuck out with us for this extra long episode of the K-Gun Report. We love you guys very much. Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Bills.
Go